This is the Razer Nommo. It's a pretty basic 2.0 desktop speaker system by Razer, and they're targeting this to consumers who are looking for something a bit different than traditional bookshelf type speakers, yet offer a well-balanced soundstage without emphasizing too much on the bass, hence the lack of a dedicated subwoofer. Now, Razer offers the Nommo in 3 flavors. There's a standard model that comes with a 3.5mm jack and a headphone output, and that costs $100. The Nommo Chroma that I have over here costs $50 more, and it comes with everything from the standard Nommo plus a USB connection with a DAC and RGB lighting, because it's 2018. And then there's the Nommo Pro, which costs $500, and it comes with all the bells and whistles like THX certification, dedicated subwoofer. You've also got larger drivers. We actually did get a chance to listen to that at CES, and quite frankly, I was blown away by how they sounded. We're not expecting those until later this year, but today we're going to be checking out the Razer Nommo and what it offers to the table, but most importantly, is it worth $100 or $150, depending on the 2 models. So let's find out right after this.
The new OC ZTR200 from Toshiba is a great value SSD if you're considering upgrading your hard drive and get a nice boost in performance with cutting-edge 3D flash memory and ultra-reliable controller with built-in power management. Available in different capacities, check it out below.
Okay, so from a design standpoint, the Nommo actually looks very stealth. I love the different approach Razer took to design these speakers because they look out of the ordinary. There are not a lot of gamery elements going over the main chassis, and the branding is very subtle, so you can easily accommodate this in an office space if you desire. Just remember that these are meant to be desktop speakers and not something that you'd put in your kitchen or somewhere else. The build quality is respectable for a pair of $100 speakers. It's not made out of aluminum or other premium materials, but rather it's plastic, and it's put together really well. After all, these are meant to be stationary at your desks, so I don't think build quality should be of any concern. One thing to take note of is that the speakers don't pivot upwards on their stands. This could affect taller listeners. I propped them a bit higher to see if there was a difference in projection of sound, and from my non-scientific observations, it was minimal, but that's something to be aware of. The stands are pretty stable to hold these cylindrical drivers, so I don't think you should be worried about tipping them accidentally because the weight distribution throughout the chassis is balanced. Feature-wise, you get a dedicated volume and bass adjust knobs, and as you control the volume, the subtle lighting underneath the right speaker gives a visual representation on the levels, and they adjust in 2-step intervals. Same goes for the left side of the speaker that represents bass adjust, which is a nice touch. Remember, the LED indicators are only present in the Chroma version and not the standard model. The bass knob can be used to adjust the intensity of the bass output, so if you like listening to tunes that emphasize a lot on vocals, or if you like watching a lot of movies to get that extra immersion, this is an excellent feature to take advantage of. I'll get into sound quality a bit later. As for I/O, you get aux in, power in, a headphone output, but as I mentioned earlier, the Chroma version of the Nommo speakers comes with a USB connection / DAC, so you can connect that to your PC, plus take advantage of the different effects within Chroma through the Synapse software. That's something you can't do with the standard version of the Nommo, so do keep that in mind. Let's talk about the tech powering these speakers. Razer has implemented a custom woven glass fiber 3-inch drivers, which are designed to deliver a more pronounced and consistent sound, especially in the highs, without being too sharp. Now, the cylindrical form is meant to channel a lot of air into its rear-facing bass ports, which in turn increases the bass response and reduces distortion at higher volumes. And just so you're aware, both the standard version and the Chroma version of the Nommo feature identical drivers, so they're going to sound exactly the same. But how do they actually sound in person? In one word, phenomenal. And I was not expecting that for a pair of speakers that cost $100. I think the last time that I looked at a system at about the same price was from Logitech, and that was the MX Sound. The main highlight for that speaker system was the Easy Switch feature that essentially lets users switch between different audio sources seamlessly without fiddling around with controls. The Nommo doesn't feature any of those fancy characteristics, but it sounds a lot superior to the MX Sound. You can take my word for it. There's fantastic detail in the highs, and you'll love listening to vocals. The mids are also well within reach, plus the bass is pronounced. It doesn't get distorted at higher volumes, plus I didn't feel like I needed a dedicated subwoofer to experience the full-bodied sound because the Nommo surprisingly delivered balanced stereo imaging for a 2.0 setup. I also had a great experience gaming with the Nommo. The stereo imaging is very clear and easier to follow along, especially when you're moving around through the gameplay. It also helps zeroing in on enemies depending on which side they're at. Gunshots felt boomy, which was awesome, and I'm really happy with what Razer has accomplished here with the Nommo. Fantastic performance for the price. Razer Synapse has been through a visual overhaul and I'm really digging it so far. It's cleaner, it's easier to understand and navigate around. For instance, you're greeted with the dashboard that showcases the devices you've connected. In my case, I have the Nommo Chroma, but if you have other Razer peripherals, they'll show up here. Once you click on the Nommo, you can adjust the volume, play around with different audio presets. I prefer the default setting, but your taste might vary since sound is always subjective. The lighting tab is where you can adjust the brightness of the LEDs. You also have the ability to turn them off. You can also change the effects, and the user also has the option to create his or her own lighting effect through Chroma Studio, and it features a lot of customizable options, which is pretty cool. So overall, I'm really impressed with what Razer has done with the Nommo. I mean, I love the design of this guy because it's so unique and it's definitely different from a traditional, bookshelf type speaker or any other desktop 2.0 speakers that you have or you can find in the market right now. The build quality might not be the best out there, but honestly, for its price, I can give it a pass. What really surprised me the most was the sound quality and the sound stage that these deliver. I prefer 2.0 desktop speaker systems rather than having a subwoofer, but in some cases I do miss having that dedicated subwoofer because currently my daily driver is the Sound Blaster Katana soundbar, and I have it paired up with a subwoofer, and the immersion is unreal, but it kind of makes sense because that thing costs like $300 and this is $100, and I can totally understand the difference between both of them because they're priced differently. I do have a few suggestions Razer could perhaps add in the next revision. Bluetooth, if you could give us Bluetooth connectivity on both these, on both the Chroma and the regular version of the Chroma, that'd be great. Also, if you could implement a dedicated subwoofer port, that would be great too, so you can connect your own subwoofer depending on brands, and then experience or expand that setup to give you a little bit more immersion. That'd be pretty cool. But other than that, I really don't have anything to complain about the Razer Nommo. Now, one thing that I feel like a lot of users might be confused as to which one should I pick, the Nommo, the standard Nommo, or the Nommo Chroma speakers. I would say, if you don't care about RGB lighting and if you don't want to play around with lighting effects and whatnot, pick the standard Nommo speakers, because I did test out the sound differences between USB and the aux-in on the Nommo Chroma, and I was not able to find a difference between the two, but that could just, that's just personal preference. If you really want RGB lighting, and if you love having that subtle LED lighting around, and if you want to sync up that lighting with your Razer peripherals, because you could do that if you have a Razer keyboard and a Razer mouse, this could be a great addition to your setup. But other than that, I would love to hear your thoughts on the Razer Nommo. What do you guys think about the speaker? Is it really worth $100? Do you see yourself picking one up? Let us know in the comments down below. I'm Eber with HardwareCanucks. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.